Coyotes. I'm meteorologist John Weatherby.
The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants. It's time for Health Futures with Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and it must be Friday. And it is October 13th, and I think they call it triskaidekaphobia. Beware of the number 13. Welcome to our show. We've been proud to bring the show to you for about 4.5 years, and if you're just tuning in for the very first time, what makes our show special is that we bring extraordinary guests, and we talk about relevant issues, current events, and things that are happening really to our older adult population. And we have been very pleased and pleasured by having just extraordinary people coming to our show to give great content to our listening audience. And today's no different. We have a lot of things that are happening in healthcare, and they're happening at a rapid fire speed. And I want to jump into these issues that are coming up, but I also want to make an appeal, and I try to do this every chance I get. And one of the challenges we have in healthcare is finding people. And people are what really make the whole care environment work. To deliver care, you have to have extraordinary people. And those extraordinary people have heart, and they have compassion, and they have the passion to make a difference in someone's life. And at Cypress HomeCare Solutions, we are a 24-year-old company here in the Valley providing in-home care services. And we do that by engaging and hiring these extraordinary people. These are employees that we background check, we train, and they have the skill sets to be able to assist somebody to age successfully in place. We know that our older adult population wants to stay at home. 92%, when surveyed, 65 and older want to stay at home, and their children, unfortunately, are living on average about 280 miles away, or they are saddled with their own lives, and they are in that sandwich generation, caring for their own children as well as supporting their own livelihoods, and it's hard for them to care for their parents. So we do that by engaging these people, these caregivers, and we like to refer to them as surrogate sons and daughters. And we've been challenged with getting people, and it's not just us. Our guests will probably tell you the same thing. He's had some challenges, and as have hospitals and other healthcare providers in attracting people. So it's real important to get more people into the healthcare trade channel, or whatever you want to talk about. And at Cypress HomeCare Solutions, if you don't have the experience, we can teach you, we can train you. All we're looking for is heart and compassion. And we just made a conscious effort to raise the bar in terms of the pay. We've had an increase in minimum wage here, and we start our caregivers at Cypress Home Care at $12 an hour, and it can get up to $15 an hour real quick. And for an entry-level home care caregiver job, that is extraordinary. I'm going to step off my soapbox right now, and I want to introduce our guest. He's a return guest. It's been 2 years since he's been with us. He was here with us on November 13th, 2015. And I want to welcome to our listening audience, I want to welcome Rich Lasota. He is the Division Director of Business Development for Life Care Centers of America. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bob. Glad to be here.
It's glad to have you back.
It's good to be back.
I am glad to have you back. And, Life Care Centers of America, if you wouldn't mind, just share with our listening audience. I think of you guys as skilled nursing facilities that are surrounding the Maricopa region that are assisting our older adult population in that transition from an acute setting to that post-acute setting and then back home.
That's correct, Bob. We have, especially in the Phoenix market, there are 5 facilities throughout the market, and our main line of business is helping those folks who just had a hospitalization, not quite ready to go back home, can't quite do it yet. They'll come over to us. We'll provide the care they need, the rehab, and let's get you better, let's get you stronger, let's have a good, safe transition home. But let's face reality. The reality is not everybody can make that transition home. And so there are times when folks need to stay with us on a more permanent or long-term basis, and we also offer those services too for those folks who cannot make that transition home.
You know, you may recall I lost my mother 15 years ago, just last week. And I want you to know that, fortunately, my father remarried. And and I've shared with our listening audience, just 2 months ago, had a major heart attack. And fortunately for him, he has a younger wife who he likes to refer to as Nurse Ratchet. But she just keeps him on the straight and narrow. But his wife was able to care for him after his visit at the hospital. And I will tell you, they live up in Payson, and they actually moved into a villa, a timeshare villa, for almost a month. But she was his caregiver. And I talked to both my dad and to my stepmom and said, you know what, if you weren't here, you would have been in a post-acute facility, because he could have never been able to stay at home. And that is the nice thing about having Life Care Centers of America.
Oh, sure. There are people out there with needs, and you know that, Bob, between what we do in our organization and with Cypress, you guys trying to help people remain at home. You know, let's face it, most people do want to remain at home, right? Nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, "Hey, Mabel, good day, we're going to a nursing home," right? That just doesn't, right? That doesn't happen, and people want to be at home, and I can understand. And for those who can be at home with some assistance, I think Cypress, great way to provide that extra help and allow people to remain in their home. But for those who can't do that, who need that additional help, you know, that's where Life Care, companies such as Life Care, can step in and fill that gap and help people through that transition period.
And that's so important. And let's face it, we know people want to get home, but it has to be safe. And oftentimes, you know, there are some incredibly horrible discharges from the acute setting, and they send people home where they should be sent to Life Care Centers of America or another post-acute center.
Oh, no doubt. And, you know, sometimes you're right, it's a bad discharge. Other times we have the patient just insists they're going to go home, and we know, and we call that the discharge to fail, right, Bob? It's
right.
Like we know they're going to go home. We know there's a high likelihood you're going to fail. But you know, luckily that we have programs, and now hospitals have programs where we have outreach to keep an eye on these folks, even like through home health services.
Yep.
And so that when they do have that, if that failure does occur, there are people there to help. You know, it's like, sort of like that safety net there to help those folks, and let's get them in the right location. Then we can get, I think once they realize that they can't do it on their own, or the providing care to a loved one is really a lot of physical work, and it's mentally draining too, that having that extra help is really what they need. And, you know, like I said, unfortunately, sometimes they do go home, fail, but like I said, we're there. We're there to help pick up the pieces.
Well, the nice thing is, and certainly we're talking about Maricopa County, we're talking about the 5 skilled nursing facilities that you have here. And it's nice that we live in an urban area that is robust with health care providers and health care systems in place. Certainly, you know, when you look at an urban area like Phoenix, we have these accountable care organizations. You know, the one I think of is Innovation Care Partners, that works really closely with the hospital system over at Honor Health, and they are overseeing those cases that are being shuttled from that acute setting, either home or into a post-acute provider like yourselves.
Oh, absolutely. They have these folks, transitional care managers. And like you said, they're the ones who, if the patient has a hospitalization, they will go in, meet with the patient, and they will help guide them through this journey through healthcare. So whether it be from the hospital to home, or from the hospital to a skilled nursing facility, then to home, they are there along the way to help that patient and help them make good choices and provide the information they need to help to help them make the choices that are appropriate for their care. Let's face it, nobody wants to go back to the hospital. We don't want our patients going back to the hospital. So let's work together and let's put together a good plan for these patients so they have a good, successful transition home.
Well, it's really been nice in healthcare is that we've been really incredibly focusing on outcomes. And, it's a great transition into the next step, and that is, 4 or 5 years ago, we were introduced to an Affordable Care Act, otherwise AKA called Obamacare. And, that was put in place so that we could have better outcomes and we could save money, not only for the health plans, but for the federal government and for the state.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody is looking for how can we preserve the precious resource of money that it takes to make the healthcare system go, right? But we can't. It's not an endless supply of money that's out there. So we all have to be good stewards, and we have to make good, wise choices. Right. And preventing rehospitalization is going to save the system tens of thousands of dollars just for one patient. So yes, these efforts that are being undertaken by many individuals out there. Yes, we're all got the same thing in mind. Let's get better outcomes. Let's have better outcomes for our patients, and let's see if we can help reduce the financial burden of healthcare on the system.
Right. And the statistics, and I might be wrong on this, but I recall like 5% of the patients in our country are consuming about 50% of the Medicare dollars at end of life, and we need to make smart choices and making decisions, not so much for those people, but helping them and their families to make good, informed decisions.
And that's interesting, Bob. Just last night, I was at a dinner meeting last night for case managers and transitional care managers, and the topic was we were talking about this end-of-life planning.
Right.
Do you have a power of attorney in place? Do you have a living will in place? And how do we educate the patients who don't have that in place? So, great topic.
We need to have that conversation, yes. That's for sure. And we talked about it here on our show many, many times. We can pick up on that. And I do want to talk about some of the breaking news that has happened just recently. Some new executive orders as it relates to health care. And what do you foresee that doing to what we have presently? And how will things change in the future? You know what? My man James, he picked out a little Bruce Springsteen to take us out in the first segment. So thank you, James. I appreciate that. A little boss taking us out in the first segment. I've got Rich Lasota here in the studio with me. We're coming at you live from the Scottsdale Air Park. He is from Life Care Centers of America. Stick around. Our second segment will be back in a few minutes.
Hey, Money Radio listeners, this is Gary Kaltbaum. Make sure you tune in for my show, Investor's Edge. You'll get my take on the markets and the world and what to look out for tomorrow. Investor's Edge is one of Money Radio's longest-running shows, so don't miss it.
You can listen to Investor's Edge Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. here on Money Radio 1510 AM and 105.3 FM.
Are you tired of your power bill going up year after year? Did you know with the changes voted in by the Corporation Commission in August, your APS electric bill will increase year after year? That's why you need to call Ask Solar Sandy. Solar Sandy can save your hard-earned money on a bill you're already paying too much on. Just think, you can save thousands on your electric bill and control the cost of your electricity and avoid unexpected rate hikes. You can also increase the value of your home and help the environment. And remember, there are zero upfront cost or fees. This rate increase will increase your power bill. That's why you need to call Ask Solar Sandy today. The best time is now. Call Ask Solar Sandy at 623-850-8229. That's 623-850-8229. Visit AskSolarSandy.com. That's AskSolarSandy.com.
If you're listening to this message, then that's a good sign. In fact, we're always interested in good signs. Good signs identify people and places. Good signs communicate important information. With our business, we not only encourage good signs, we create them. We're Croy Sign Systems. Our signs identify, direct, and inform so you can navigate through life faster and easier. And that's a really good Croy sign. Call Croy Sign Systems today at 480-619-6070 or visit us online at kroysigns.com.
It's all the genuineness of an In-N-Out burger times 2. The In-N-Out Double Double. Double meat, double cheese, double fresh. Come taste the difference at In-N-Out Burger.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and if you're just tuning in, we're in our second segment. I've got Rich Lasota from Life Care Centers of America, and we were talking about end-of-life plans. We were talking about how 5% of our population base, patient base, is creating about 50% of the healthcare costs. It's kind of like the 80-20 rule, you know. It's like, okay, how do we fix this? Because this is costing all of us a lot of money, and we don't want to, even think about talking about death panels. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about planning and making your intentions known. And we've talked about this here on our show before. And if you're just listening to this for the very first time, if you've not done your planning, you better start. Because if you aren't there to direct and tell people what you want as it relates to your health care, people are going to make those decisions for you.
No, I agree, Bob. One of the things is making your wishes known, not only in your mind, but I'm going to encourage all our listeners out there, sit down and have a conversation with your family. I know to sit around and talk about, what do I want to happen at the end of my life? Yeah, it could be a little gruesome, but the reality is, Bob, we're all going to be there one day, right?
Absolutely.
Nobody lives forever. And I truly believe, Bob, in my heart that we as a healthcare industry have to stop doing things to patients and have to start doing things for patients. And what I mean by doing things for them is make your wishes known, sit down with your family, let them know what your wishes are so that when you do get ill or a decision has to be made, we are doing what you wanted done for you, not what we think should be done to you. And I got to tell you a little humorous story. Years ago when I first got into nursing, I worked in home care. And this was a very typical conversation that would happen when I'd go visit a patient for the first time in the home. I would walk in, and I would be greeted by a family member, maybe a son or daughter of the patient, who would take me aside and go, "Hey, listen, psst, come here. I got to tell you something. Dad is really sick, and we don't want him to know that, right? Because we don't want him to be stressed. So we'd appreciate if you don't say anything to him." And I would say, "Oh, okay."
How many times does that usually happen?
A lot.
A lot.
Then I would go in to the patient's, where the patient is, right? And I would obviously have some time with the patient so I could do my initial examination and assessment of the patient. And this is what would happen, Bob. The patient would lean over to me and go, "Hey, come here. Listen, I want to tell you, I'm really sick, and I really don't let my family know because I don't want them to worry about me," right? And then this conversation would go back and forth, and so finally I'd have to walk out to the rest of it and they would ask me, "Hey, you didn't tell him, did you?" And I'd say, "Well, he knows." And they'd say, "Well, how does he know?" I'm like, "Well, he knows, right?" You guys got to talk. So that's what I'm talking. Have those discussions, right?
Yeah.
You can't. Don't hide it. Don't keep it secret. Have those open discussions. Sit down, make a good plan. I'm going to give some advice. One tool that I think is really good if you don't have a living will or advanced directives, it's called My 5 Wishes or the 5 Wishes. You can go online.
I have it.
Bob has one here right
I
in the
got
studio.
one right here. There you go.
And It's a fabulous book. It's a booklet. You can go online. You can get them. They're very, very inexpensive. And you go through it and you answer the questions, go through it with a family member, and it basically walks you through a majority of the scenarios that could happen to a person throughout their life. And when you're done, it's a living will. It's your living will.
It's a roadmap. It's a roadmap. It's a roadmap.
Right. And nothing is worse than when, in a crisis situation, when a family member has to try and figure out, okay, what would Dad want? What would Mom want? What would my husband or wife want? That's the wrong time to start thinking about this stuff.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, and I want to piggyback on what you said. It's not a one-time conversation. This is a conversation that builds up over time. And this is something, these 5 wishes, if you were to fill this out, is to maybe revisit it with your loved ones, if you can, every year. If not, maybe every other year, and just make sure that their wishes are known and understood. Because there's nothing worse than somebody that may be being brought back to life when they didn't want to be brought back to life.
No, absolutely. And Bob, you and I have been in healthcare long enough. We've seen it where we have one family member who says, Dad would have wanted this, and then the next family member comes in and says, oh, no, I know Dad would have wanted that. And then the third family member comes in and nobody knows what to do at that point. But having this taken care of, and I'll tell you what, if you're out there and you're in your 20s and you don't think something's going to happen to you, I would encourage you, even if you're that young, go online, get your 5 Wishes book, fill it out, have it someplace where somebody can find it just in case, because we're not all going to live forever, and get it done. And you know what? Let your family, give them the ease of mind so that when if the time comes where they have to make a decision, they know they're doing what you would have want done.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with those statements. We need to make sure we're having that conversation. I've talked about it here on the show, and I've had some great, extraordinary guests here to talk specifically about this. One was Dr. Hazelhorst, who wrote this book, Wishes to Die For. I don't know if you met Dr. Hazelhorst, but he's an ER doctor, and he sees this all the time. He sees this all the time where, people have not memorialized their wishes, or just like you said, the children are in conflict because one says, Dad would never want to be put on a ventilator, and the other one says, no, we need to put him on a ventilator, or no, we need to do this procedure on him. It's funny, you talk about death and the reality of death. I wrote a column back about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, for the Love and Life After 50 magazine and for the Jewish News, and I quoted a really good comedian, Billy Crystal. And he talked about the death and just the fact that we all have that lingering over us. And he says, in the back of your mind, you're thinking you're going to be the one. You're going to be the one that gets away with it. That you're going to be the one that God, like a bouncer at a nightclub, lets you slip by. It doesn't work that way. For anyone, in fact, who else thought that way and thought they might be able to slip by? Every single person that is in the cemetery. It just doesn't work that way. So, you know what? Memorialize your wishes. Get those wishes understood. Make sure your family members know. Make sure your healthcare professionals know. Make sure your estate planning professionals know. And certainly when you go in for a procedure, which I did recently, you go into a hospital, they ask you for that information. Bring it with you. They'll scan it in, so they'll have permanent record of it. It's halftime here at Health Futures. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth. I've got Rich Lasota here in the studio. We'll be right back.
As we reach the bottom of the hour, we pause for a look at the world's news. Then we're back with Money Talk. We're Money Radio 1510 AM and 105.3 FM.
President Trump has announced he will decertify the 2015 Iran nuclear agreement.
The regime remains the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism and provides assistance to al-Qaeda, the Taliban, Hezbollah, Hamas, and other terrorist networks.
At least 31 people are dead and dozens are missing as firefighters battle a wildfire outbreak in Northern California. CAL FIRE Director Ken Pimlott.
So as of this morning, we have 17 large fires for 221,754 acres that have burned since the beginning of the 6-day fire siege.
45 victims of the Las Vegas concert massacre remain hospitalized, some in critical condition. The death toll still stands at 58. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average advancing, up 45 points. The S&P up 5. The Nasdaq up 19. I'm Ann Cates.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing during the decline in the U.S. economy, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline at 800-334-7304. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and can't afford to pay them back, or you even have years of unfiled returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-334-7304 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, pension, savings, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 1-800-334-7304 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 1-800-334-7304.
For a happier life, remember, it's your money. Be smart with it. And listening every day to Money Radio will cause your money IQ to go up, way up.
Hey, Phoenix, Larry Kudlow here. Be sure to join me every Saturday at 2 p.m. on the Southwest's longest-running financial talk radio station, the one and only Money Radio. And during the week, don't miss Mastering Money with hosts Steve Jurich and Ken Morgan daily at 8 a.m. right here on Money Radio 1510 AM and 105.3 FM.
For podcasts, download the free Mastering Money app for both Apple and Android and visit masteringmoneyradio.com.
The Genucel giveaway continues. Hey, the folks at Chamonix need to empty their warehouses, so order now. You'll get double your Genucel order free. Genucel is a natural plant stem cell treatment with advanced peptides for those pesky bags and puffiness under the eyes. And with Genucel's immediate effects, you'll see amazing results in about 12 hours. Call now. Get double your order of Genucel free. Genucel's backed by the best customer service in the business and an ironclad 60-day money-back guarantee. And if you call now, you'll get a 2-month supply of the legendary Deep Firming Serum, also free. Call in the next 20 minutes and get a free 2-month supply of Esotique RF, Chamonix's most popular wrinkle treatment free. That's your 4th free gift. Call 800-525-8345 or go to Genucel.com. Double up on Genucel. Get the Deep Firming Serum and Esotique, all free while supplies last. Limited time offer. Order now, and shipping is also free. 800-525-8345. 800-525-8345. That's 800-525-8345.
If you're ready to rumble this football season, then Gallagher's is the place for your pregame meeting. Check out their game day, happy hour specials on food, spirits that will surely score with everyone on your team, including their half-pound wood-fired burgers, their salads, sandwiches, house-smoked barbecue ribs, and a great kids menu with the best baked wings in town. Get into the game at one of their 4 Valley locations and see why they are your home team any day, not just game day. Gallagher's, spirited food and sports.
To relieve muscle cramps in your legs and feet, use TheraWorks Relief. This fast-acting foam is clinically proven to relieve leg and foot cramps. Get TheraWorks Relief today at TheraWorksRelief.com.
I'm Frank Miller with Your Money Now. Well, stocks continue to trade modestly higher. The Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P still continuing to see slight gains as trading begins to wind down on Wall Street. Checking commodities, gold futures rallied today, even despite speculation that the Fed will maintain its projection for its 4 interest rate hikes by the end of the year. Outgoing Fed Vice President Stanley Fischer said today that it was achievable if they continue to run good quality data. He went on to say that with the global economy coming up for the first time and having faster growth in the global economy than expected, that there was a good chance of that. Gold for December up $8.10 to $1,304.60 an ounce. This coming amid data showing this morning that the U.S. Consumer Price Index rose only 0.5% last month, and that was mostly due to a temporary spike in gas prices after Hurricane Harvey. The closely watched core CPI was up only 0.1%, leaving the annual rate of inflation at 1.7%, which is below the Fed's 2% target for annual inflation. And that is Your Money Now.
First off, you robots are a great addition to the accounting department.
But
your auditing and risk assessment skills are excellent.
But
It's official. Robots have entered the world of accounting, and certified management accountants have mastered the 11 most critical practice areas in business, which means they'll be the ones calling the shots.
Forecasting, outstanding.
But
please stop oiling yourself up in the lunchroom.
I knew there was a but. There's always a but.
The CMA certification. You've got to earn it. Visit cmacertification.org for details.
To help explain just how easy it is to make Bob Evans original mashed potatoes, here are a few things more difficult. 1. Tying your shoes over and under through the hole. 2. Remembering internet passwords. Have you tried your birthday? 3. Changing a light bulb. You'd be surprised. Because with Bob Evans original mashed potatoes, you simply take it from the fridge, then microwave it for 6 minutes. For rich homemade taste that's easy to make, find Bob Evans in the refrigerated section of your grocery store. It's farm fresh goodness, made easy.
Bob Evans down on the farm.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. And I've got Rich Lasota in the house from Life Care Centers of America, and we're coming at you live from the Scottsdale Airport. And I'm just going to jump right into this because we've talked about end-of-life planning. We've talked about the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare. We've talked about transitionary care from an acute setting into a post-acute setting and then back to home. But I do want to talk about some current events. And, you know, our president has put an executive order in, I think it was yesterday or today, really trying to increase competition and choice in healthcare, and for lack of a better word, put a real blow to Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act. And no matter where you stand on this, right or left, you know, I had this said to me about healthcare. Healthcare is moving fast down the road, and it is changing by the minute. And if you as a provider, you, Rich, as Life Care Centers of America, me as Cypress HomeCare Solutions, if we don't adapt to change, we are going to become irrelevant. And change is coming, and this is a new change. What is your interpretation of this change, Rich?
Well, that's a great question. Like you said, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, if you're on the left or on the right. Right, healthcare is changing at rapid speed. So President Trump signed the executive orders yesterday. Obviously, he can't get things done through Congress, right? Senate.
He's tried.
Sounds like the House passes stuff. It gets bottlenecked in the Senate. Sometimes it looks like his own party doesn't want to cooperate with him, right? So he is, I guess, taking a look at it and said, look, I'm going to do sort of what Obama was doing, right? He was grabbing the pen and executive orders. So folks, executive orders are great. They may get the president what he wants at the moment, but the problem with executive orders is they're not law. As soon as the next president comes in, they can undo everything.
And it's really a Band-Aid.
It is a Band-Aid, like I said, because in essence what President Trump is doing is undoing what President Obama did through executive orders. Right. So, yes, he did sign the executive orders. So what's happening? I think one of the problems, he wants there to be more competition in the marketplace. He wants people to be able to buy plans that are, I guess, custom tailored to what suits your needs, or maybe as an employer, what the employer's needs. Because what is, fortunately or unfortunately, what happens with Obamacare right now is there are certain things that you're mandated that you have to buy. So, for example, Bob, if, say, for you and I, Bob, we're in our 50s, and if we went to buy a policy, we would have to buy maternity policies. Right, now I don't think I have no plans. All the listeners know I have no plans to have any more children in my life.
I don't think I can have children.
Yeah, that's right.
Physically, I can't, but I get what you're saying.
Right, but you're made to pay for that stuff, right? If you need it or not, and that's just one example. And what this executive order is going to allow you to do is go and say, well, no, I don't need that, but here's some other pieces that I do need. And by this, I guess we'll call it this customization, it is supposed to help drive down the cost. Now, one of the other things that President Obama's been talking about is the state, we all hear about the state lines for the sales of
You said
policies.
President Obama, but you meant
President Trump.
President Trump. I know what you're talking about.
That's
okay.
Bob. So what President Trump's trying to do, get rid of the state lines, which right now they're state lines. So for a payer, an insurance company, to sell in the state, they have to come set up shop in the state, physically set up shop. And it almost creates barriers to other players coming in. So obviously the big players who have the financial backing,
You think of United, Blue Cross Blue Shield,
right.
Cigna.
The big players.
Humana.
Right. Now, if they knock down the state lines, in essence, you could set up. Bob, you and I could start Bob and Rich's health plan, right? And we could sell it across the country,
right?
And operate it from Phoenix, Arizona, or Scottsdale, Arizona here. So that's one. And through that, I think the hope is that introduces more competition, and as insurers compete to try and get more members to buy policies, that will help drive down the price of the premiums.
Right.
So that's the theory behind that. The other thing I think President Trump was worried about was one of the problems with the Affordable Care Act was that one of the assumptions was that young, healthy people would buy policies, right, and that those policies through those young people purchasing them would help pay for those other folks who are, the older folks or people who are sick, right? Yeah. Who are actively utilizing services in through the healthcare industry. But what happened was these young people didn't buy the policies.
No, they didn't.
Because I think there was a couple reasons. One reason was they were just expensive. They're expensive.
Beer
right?
money.
Beer money, and they're expensive.
Food.
And kids coming out of college today, let's face it, they're up to their eyeballs in student loans and debt. And to add another, and let's face it, some of these plans too had such high deductibles and high co-pays that even if you had it, you couldn't afford to use it. So I think a lot of people just said, the heck with it. You know what? I can pay the fine, right? The IRS fine of a few $100s, or, maybe I'll just take my chances and see if the IRS catches up with me at some point, right? And I'll save the thousands and thousands of dollars. I think the other reason young people probably didn't buy it, because let's face it, young people tend to be a little bit healthier. And when you're healthy and young, do you really need healthcare, right?
You feel invincible.
You feel invincible, all right. And so
you feel like, why do I need it?
And so that's what was happening, is the young folks were not purchasing the policy,
right,
which was causing all these problems. We keep hearing we got to shore up the Affordable Care Act. Well, that's what was happening. The young people weren't there to provide the additional revenue that was needed to shore up the other end, where the people who were, like you said, who are the sicker folks who are utilizing the system, that was supposed to pay for it. So we've got that going on. And now we've also got employers, small, and you know this, Bob.
I'm a small one.
As a small employer, being able to provide health care for your employees, right? That's something I think every employer would want to do, but the cost is astronomical. So this is going to allow now them to create these, what they call associated plans, where small employers can get together, right, and form a group and form a plan, and then they can almost customize that plan to meet the needs of their employees or their organization. So I think that's some of the theory that's behind what President Trump thinks he wants to, and he believes that this is going to allow people to be able to afford policies and to get more people insured and to drive down the costs for most people. If you're on the left side of the aisle, you probably don't have those same views, right? That's, we hear a lot of things like he's taken away the coverage for pre-existing conditions or other things that could be taken away. It's the age-old political fight. And I think, someday we're going to have a Democrat president again, and I think the pendulum will swing again at that point.
Well, and I think that's the challenge that we have here. Like you said, it's not law. And, we as a country and our government, we keep kicking the can down the road. And we keep pointing fingers. Not you and me, but Washington keeps pointing fingers. They keep saying, Obama created this. Prior to that, Bush should have addressed this. Prior to this, Bill Clinton should have addressed this. So we just keep moving the can down the road. And healthcare keeps changing, and it keeps getting more and more expensive. And, that old adage about insanity, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. I mean, with us, we're sitting here with Obamacare for 4 or 5 years now. The exchanges are dying. These health care plans couldn't make money. I mean, we were one of the first, I think it was Pima County was one of the first counties that was in jeopardy of losing a carrier, and it was Blue Cross Blue Shield that stepped up with like 48 hours left to be able to save the day. I mean, but nobody wanted to be that carrier in that exchange because they were losing money.
Oh, no, absolutely. They were losing their shirt, and there are counties now that have nobody. Nobody wants to be in some of these counties now. And you're right. I mean, they were basically begging these companies to come in and please, now we've got counties, like you said, major counties that have one choice. And we, for the longest time, I think the American people heard about how, remember though, you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor, right? You like your plan, you can keep your plan. Well, unfortunately, I think that's where a lot of the angst against the Affordable Care Act has come from, is people weren't allowed to. They couldn't keep their doctor, and their plan disappeared. And now when I go to buy a plan, I've got one choice. I got one choice, one price, and there it is. Very difficult
take it or
situation.
leave it. Yeah. And when you really sit down and you think about it, again, to your point, whether you're left or right, it was set up for failure. And why was it set up for failure? You incorporated insurance companies into it. Now, insurance companies are Wall Street companies that are fundamentally set up to make money. And they are in business to provide shareholder value, not to lose money. And you're setting up a plan to cover everybody. They are just at polar opposite ends, and it was destined to fail. So how do you do it? I had one doctor here on my show saying that we should create mutual plans, health insurance plans that are owned by its members. Maybe that's a way to do it. But Wall Street stock companies, not going to be able to do it. Rich, we're down our third segment. We got a little Boston taking us out. Thank you, James. I haven't heard this song in a long time. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. We're completing our third segment. Stick around. We'll be back for our fourth in just a few.
Hey, Money Radio listeners, this is Gary Kaltbaum. Make sure you tune in for my show, Investor's Edge. You'll get my take on the markets and the world and what to look out for tomorrow. Investor's Edge is one of Money Radio's longest-running shows, so don't miss it.
You can listen to Investor's Edge Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. here on Money Radio 1510 AM and 105.3 FM.
Are you tired of your power bill going up year after year? Did you know with the changes voted in by the Corporation Commission in August, your APS electric bill will increase year after year? That's why you need to call Ask Solar Sandy. Solar Sandy can save your hard-earned money on a bill you're already paying too much on. Just think, you can save thousands on your electric bill and control the cost of your electricity and avoid unexpected rate hikes. You can also increase the value of your home and help the environment. And remember, there are zero upfront cost or fees. This rate increase will increase your power bill. That's why you need to call Ask Solar Sandy today. The best time is now. Call Ask Solar Sandy at 623-850-8229. That's 623-850-8229. Visit AskSolarSandy.com. That's AskSolarSandy.com.
Have you been in an accident? Don't let the insurance companies tell you where to bring your vehicle. Call Sam's Auto Body and Paint today. A-plus rated with the Better Business Bureau, Sam's Auto Body and Paint handles all insurance claims, and in most cases, Sam's pays your deductible. Accidents happen. Sam's Auto Body and Paint is there to repair your vehicles back to its original function and strength with 100% satisfaction and a lifetime warranty. They also offer free towing. For more information, visit samsautobodyandpaint.com. That's samsautobodyandpaint.com. The professional collision repair specialist.
Equip yourself for high-performance sleep. Get your beauty rest for less during the Beauty Rest High-Performance Sleep Sale. Visit beautyrestretailers.com or get yours at Spencer's TV and Appliance.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Roth. I'm your host of Health Futures. We're on our fourth segment, and we're talking healthcare. And I've got Rich Lasota here in the studio, and I've got a little who taking us out of the fourth segment. Thank you very much, James, our engineer. Rich is with Life Care Centers of America. And while we beat up a little bit about our Affordable Care Act and our president's new executive order as it relates to health care, just sit tight. And if you wait a while, it's going to definitely change again. That is one thing for sure. You know, I do want to talk a little bit about Life Care Centers of America, and I want to punt it over to you, Rich. Punting is a great name because Rich has actually taken his dad to the first NFL game he's ever attended?
Well,
or first Cardinal game?
First Cardinal game.
First Cardinal game. He's going to get out and see them play the Tampa Bay Bucks on Sunday, and he's going to see Adrian Peterson and the flesh and blood be our starting running back. So hopefully we have a chance. We'll see.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope my dad gets to see a good Cardinal win, but they're struggling a little bit right now.
Indeed. But one place that's not struggling is Life Care Centers of America. There's a great need for communities like yours, the 5 that exist here in the Valley. And, you know, I want to just say this to you is how, if you can, and you and I talked about discharge planning. You know, when you meet with your case manager and you're in an acute setting, they typically will define whether or not you're ready for care at home or you need to get to the next stage. Patients have choice. So how do they go about making a choice on where to go? And certainly I have, and I continue to recommend Life Care Centers of America.
No, I appreciate that, Bob. You do have a choice. The main thing to remember is if you have a loved one in the hospital and there is question about will we be able to go home, do we maybe need to go for a short stay at a skilled nursing facility such as a Life Care Centers of America facility, it's going to be important to get with that discharge planner in the hospital early, right? Because you're going to want to be able to figure out what choices do I have out there in the community. Nothing worse than being told at the very last second, right? Okay, we're going to discharge your dad in 2 hours. I need you to pick a place for him to go. Well, you know, that doesn't allow you any time at all to try and make an educated decision about, you know, where's going to be the best place to meet your loved one's needs. So I would get with that discharge planner early. Have them give you the list of what facilities are available. Obviously, most folks have a geographic area in mind that they would like to be in, right? And
makes a lot of sense.
Most folks either like to be near home or near a loved one, you know, who would be the one coming to visit them and helping them throughout their stay. But once you get that list, I would really encourage you to do a couple things. One, go online, Medicare.gov, and there's a link that says Nursing Home Compare. You go on there, and it gives you all kind of information as far as star ratings for the facilities, quality ratings. Great place to start to kind of get an idea of what's available in your area. The next thing that I think is incredibly important is get out there and go visit the nursing center before the discharge is made. Go take a look at it. You know, ask for a tour, ask to see the facility. You want to get in the facility. Bob, when you walk in, the facility should feel good to you, right? We shouldn't feel chaos. We shouldn't feel like there's a bunch of folks running around like crazy. You shouldn't look down the hall and see every patient's call light ringing. You want to go into a place that feels good. You know, it's okay for a place to be busy, but you'll know when it's a good busy. The other thing is, you know, I always say use the sniff test, right? Nursing home, that's the one thing we used to hear is that, oh, nursing homes, you know, they smell and stuff. Well, nursing homes should not smell. You know, there's no reason a nursing home should smell. Now, I will tell you folks, there are times when patients do have, you know, there are accidents that occur and patients need to be cleaned. So, but those smells will disappear very quickly. But if it's a lingering odor, I'll tell you, if you have a lingering odor throughout the entire facilities you're walking around, I don't think that's a place I'd want to put a loved one.
Exactly.
The other thing is ask your questions when you go in. So if you're concerned if your loved one's going to need physical and occupational therapy, you know, it's okay to ask about those services. Ask to see the gym. Ask to see where those exercises will take place. You know, if the director of the rehab service is there, you know, feel free to ask them some questions about how their services work. How often will mom or dad get care? How does the program work? But you really want to do a little bit of homework on your end. And once you can get out there and actually see the facility, you're going to make a much better choice for your loved one.
I first want to comment. I went to Medicare.gov. So easy. Plugged in my zip code, and I've got about 20 to choose from, and all the star ratings are there. So easy to do your online search. But I think you hit the nail on the head. Physically go. The eyeball test. You want to make sure. Remember, your loved one is going to come home. So what is the best place that's going to help prepare this person for coming home? And like you said, check out the exercise facility there. Check out, the people and see how they're greeted. The smell test is also big, like you described. So important. Do your homework. And I think what you said, the advice you gave from the start, is know that when your loved one is there, get together with case management. Know right at the beginning, just say, okay, when do you suppose mom or dad's going to be going home? And if they said tomorrow, then we need to get on this. She or he is not ready to go home, but how do we get them ready? So really, really good tips there.
Well, thanks. But it just, like I said, take the time, make a good choice. Obviously, I'm a little biased. If you need home care services, Cypress is a great company to utilize.
Thank you.
If you need skilled nursing, we would love for you to choose Life Care Centers of America. However, I want people to make choices based, your loved one, what the needs are, what's going to make them comfortable and what's a good fit for them. Get out there, spend a little time, do your homework, and make a good choice for them.
For those that have experienced it, I've got a question here for you. And I've seen this happen with some of our clients in the past. Can a facility tell a patient that they have to leave by the 21st day of the skilled nursing facility, even if they still have a skilled need?
Hey, you got me walking in some dangerous waters.
I
but
know.
I'll try and tiptoe through this, Bob, carefully. No, especially as a Medicare recipient, you're entitled to 100 days of skilled care per benefit period. Now, a couple things we have to remember. One, that's as long as you have a skilled need. That doesn't mean that the second you walk through the door, you can stay 100 days, right? But no, they cannot make you leave at day 20. If you still have benefit days left, if you still have a skilled need, if you still need care, they cannot tell you to leave.
They can't tell you to leave.
Correct.
So if you want to get a hold of Life Care Centers of America, go to LCC, that's CC being Charlie, A.com, or call 480-296-2600. Rich Lasota, thank you for being on the show.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, have a great time this weekend of the Cardinal game. Hopefully we see a win.
I hope so.
Make it a great day. Have a great weekend, and we'll be back next Friday.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress Home Care Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit CypressHomeCare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 105.3 FM.
Every morning at 8 a.m., get timely market updates, breaking news on market movers, and strong analysis on financial topics to help you plan, invest, insure, retire, and stay retired. Don't miss Mastering Money every morning at 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. Hear best-selling author and wealth manager Steve Jurich, along with his great lineup of financial experts, CPAs, and attorneys. Mastering Money now at 8 right here on Money Radio AM 1510 and 105.3 FM. See you there.
Money Radio 1510
and 105.3 FM.
KFNN Mesa, Phoenix. Taking a look at the market, well, the Dow's up 29 points at 22,871. The S&P 500 up a point at 2552, and the Nasdaq's up 12 at 6603.
When people want to talk about money, this is the place they come to. And there's more on the way after this break for the latest news. And we begin